My first little when I talk about Newham, because Newham is my home.
Newham is very creative and I absolutely love the place because there are so many challenges, but at the same time so many opportunities.
It's a really vibrant kind of community, like from the markets to the schools, like everyone's really alive in this borough.
It's kind of got green spaces, you've got the Olympic Park nearby.
Everyone is like respectful and they're kind to each other.
And one of the reasons I moved here is actually because I've found a really brilliant artistic community here.
We've got all different parts of Newham and they are like little towns, you know, and I think that's why it's important to learn that heritage, the importance of knowing what was, you know, before and how hard people worked to get where they were.
The history of London is not about Winston Churchill and the people, the statues and everything, it's about us as well.
Newham has an extraordinarily rich and diverse history, and that deserves to be better known. And I think Newham Heritage Month has been a tremendous way of doing that.
Newham Heritage Month is themed with shops, docks and factories this year, which has allowed us to look at the full range of Newham's fantastic heritage.
It's been very special this year. We've had a wide range of events for things that people probably wouldn't even realise is heritage. We've had about the underground record shop in Forest Gate.
We've got art projects, we've got boats visiting the docks, we've got open days at factories, we've got amazing artists working with communities, we've had plays in libraries, and we've even set up our own brick field. It's been such a rich programme this year.
So my project for Newham Heritage Month is called Drawing Woodgrange Road Past and Present, and it's all about exploring the history of our local high street here in E7.
It's been really good fun, it's been really interesting. I think it's changed the way I actually view a lot of the buildings around here. For example, the pharmacy was a really beautiful building and the colours of it and the carving. But now I can see that it's had different lives, so it's like the building's almost got a bit of personality for me now. And I can walk past it and think, oh, you know, there were people out here of a totally different era doing totally different things. It's also been a really nice way to meet some other locals that have a similar interest, but we're all from different walks of life. So that's been just a really nice way of getting to know some people.
Newham Heritage Month is a partnership between National Lottery Heritage Fund, the Royal Docks team and the London Borough of Newham. For the first time this year we've been able to offer community grants to local organisations and individuals to run their own projects. So the beauty of Newham Heritage Month is that we might get somebody coming this year as an audience member and getting inspired to research their own family history or their own local area, and then next year they may come back as a facilitator of their own project and inspire the next generation of people to do their own heritage projects.
So Darning in Newham is a project I started with my friend Materiality, and the kind of idea behind it was to celebrate the creative community we have in Newham, explore the history of women through textiles and creative response. It was really interesting getting to know the people behind the archive. It's something I knew we had vaguely, but we don't have a museum, so I hadn't really interacted with the archive before. Then there was just people on our workshops, and they were so interested in this history and interested in the archive and had their own stories to tell.
It drew me back into Newham and the community. Like, as someone who studies in central London, Newham has kind of become like a place I go back to go to sleep. That sense of community is really easily lost when you're not really working in that space and meeting people, especially with COVID and things. So yeah, I'm really happy that I worked on this project.
We have been exploring the history of the Queen's and Stratford Market.
We were also looking at the archives in Newham as well, so we were writing poems based on the archives and archiving our own memories as well.
I've never been one for heritage, so just to learn a little bit more about Borough, it really helped to kind of show me actually what's available.
The project is called Roots of the Curry House. What we've tried to show is how halal food has changed from when it was introduced in Newham back in the 60s and the 70s, from the early migrants that came in, to now towards sort of the third generation, the fourth generation of people. It's very important to capture those stories and the personal experiences from people, especially when it comes to our community, because I don't think a lot of it is documented. And you always hear stories of how this person had to do so-and-so, and it was like racism and blocks in your way to get things done. But I think once we interviewed those people directly, that's when you realize, like, my word, it was really difficult.
What we are doing for Newham Heritage Month is using stories of Africans living in Newham, to create a musical theatre piece. It is nice for these people to be recognized, to be celebrated because of what they have, contributed to Newham as a whole.
Welcome to Afro Gyration. Welcome to Afro Gyration.
This is the Community Volunteer Photographers Project, and we have been working with a group of volunteers from Newham, exploring the local neighbourhood, kind of connecting up with each other in quite a difficult time, as well as upskilling people in photography.
I hadn't done anything like this before. I thought, well, give it a shot. Plus it's got photography involved, which I love.
The thing I was hoping for from the project was to find a group of people that represented Newham now, and to encourage them to sort of tell their stories. I think we've done an amazing, well, I say we've done an amazing job, they've done an amazing job.
So one of the things that really pleased me, the first Zoom meeting, to listen to people that are new to the area and to see how interested they are in where I come from. And it made me feel sort of quite proud of where I've grown up.
We're using the materiality of the humble brick to think about the histories and the futures of the borough of Newham and its built environment.
Heritage, for me, is about thinking of history of the now. So obviously heritage can sound like something that's very distant and removed from us, but actually in fact we can look at it and see how it shapes our everyday lives. So that could mean visually, as in we're surrounded by brick buildings, so it's interesting to think about brick, but also thinking about the legacies of labour histories, who was employed in the brick fields. We know that they're mainly gypsy and traveller communities. How much should we therefore be valuing those communities now who still live in Newham, and thinking about how they've been part of all our heritage and building this amazing borough that we're all part of.
It's great actually, I love it. It's just, learning a new skill, and, it makes you admire the brick workers from all these hundreds of years, how they've done it. I've had 5 goes and it's still not right.
This year, as part of Newham Heritage Month, Newham Music has selected 5 local primary schools in order for them to write their own song inspired by a piece of Newham heritage. Especially coming out of lockdown, this project has helped children reconnect with their local area as well as their communities and their friends in a slightly different way. When the children are allowed to create something from what they've studied, really get into character and then express what they've learned in their own way, they have a sense of ownership of the work, and they also gain that sense of ownership and pride in their local area. It's produced a depth of learning.
Our song is called There's More to the River That Meets the Eye. And it's about how the women workers worked on the River Lee.
I feel proud of myself because I've never done this kind of thing before, and I feel like we've done a great job.
And now when I walk by the River Lee, past the old docks and the factories, I hear their ghosts calling up to me with strength and courage and dignity. We care for the river, we'll make it clean, because we know how much it means. Our care will flow out to the sea, out to the world for the River Lee.
What I think is fantastic about heritage is that if you invest in people's responses and research time to look into the history of the local area, you create a whole group of people who are telling their own story. This history hasn't been written for them already. We've got a fantastic opportunity in Newham to allow the community that lives here today to be the researchers and the spokespeople of their heritage for the future.
What Newham Heritage Month is doing now, it is unique that you're giving people opportunity to celebrate their own heritage. And in the process, you're allowing people to know this heritage of where we are all living in. We are all part of a story. You have a story, I have a story, the other person has his own story. Let's tell our story so that we can celebrate each other.
It has been an absolute honour to work with Newham Heritage Month. It helps us hugely to think about our histories in the borough, but also how we can bridge that information and knowledge into how we begin to act on our futures, using those histories as historical documents that are acted upon.
There needs to be kind of this active effort from everybody in the community to really engage with each other, because those are the things that make the community a good place to live and a good place to, I don't know, just grow in.